mark.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Grave Encounters. Psychiatric hospitals like this were seen as sort of a dumping ground for embarrassing family members rather than a place that they could go to actually get help.
Many of them were severely disturbed. It's truly frightening.
I swear to God that I saw someone right at the end of the hall there.
And he swears that something pushed him off the ladder.
So you guys see this window here? Lock it up real good at night. Come back in the morning. Sometimes this thing's wide open.
Tonight, my crew and I, using the most sophisticated in ghost hunting equipment,
We're in search of definitive proof of spirits that were unsettled in life and possibly unsettled in the afterlife.
is there someone here with us?
What was that?
What if this is something real?
Did you get that?
Do you see your own man?
Yeah.
I'm gonna document everything because when we get out of this place, people are gonna want to see this.
Matt and Houston are gone. We just need to focus on finding a way out. There's something over there.
Hey, who are you? How come you're in here?
Jesus Christ, what's happening to us? Why is it happening? Do you hear that?
Games, Brains, and a Head-Banging Life. Welcome to a horror review. And we are looking at the 2011 Canadian found footage supernatural horror film that is Grave Encounters. Now, anyone that follows the site, gbhbl.com, even the reviews that have been done in the past, back when I used to do the sort of mini ones, knows I don't like found footage horror movies. I really fucking don't. In fact, I think the trope has been played out years ago, let alone now. And the ones that we see coming out modern day learn nothing from the mistakes of the past. Just look at the success of the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity and think, yeah, we can have a little slice of that pie.
Nope.
While not paying much for it. The problem is no, that's not how it works. And there are far more worse found footage horrors than there are good ones.
Yeah.
However, every so often, you do get surprised. And what you find is one that sticks to the tropes, doesn't really change up those thoughts on it, but does it so fucking well that I forgive everything.
Yeah.
That's very important there. It's like, no, those tropes exist and they're noticeable, but you tell such a good story, you make your film scary,
Yep.
you
Answer our questions.
you are big time answering questions as well. You know what questions? The big one is always, why are they still filming?
Yeah.
Which this movie does answer in a very simple fashion. That's the way we ask. Just say a fucking line about it.
Yeah.
Even if it's dumb, at least you've said something.
Yeah, drop it in. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And one of my favourite found footage horror movies is this. It is Grave Encounters. I was wowed by it when I saw it many years ago because I thought it was actually genuinely scary. Genuinely scary. On a rewatch, I don't think it's as scary as perhaps I thought. I still think it does chilling well thanks to its sound effects more than anything else.
Yeah.
And stuff like that are very, very subtle because this is a found footage movie after all. But again, explain why that shit's been added and stuff like at the start. But I also think it tells a really good story. You know?
Yeah, because there's so many of these. There's so many stories that are done, like churned out. So the idea of, we're going to go film a haunted location, or what we're going to find, and then go from there. And that's just a very loose, coverall story. Whereas this takes a slightly different take on it, and it's something a lot of people can kind of relate to. Going, oh, okay, they're just filming it for. They don't believe none of it. This is what we kind of get from it.
We'll get a little bit more into that in a while, but I will point out that I'm not aware of any found footage movie that did this specific thing, which was the paranormal reality TV show filming at an abandoned asylum or an abandoned house or haunted place, and trouble happens when they revealed. Now There are loads of them.
Yeah.
Now, I suspect they were all inspired by the success of this movie because while this film, its reviews online and stuff are mixed and stuff like that, was an actual fucking hit. An actual hit that has spawned a sequel in 2012. We've also seen the sequel, and we will be covering it in a review as well. It's not as good, but it does have one of our most iconic scares, the sequel. We will get into that when we do. We will talk about that. But this film, it's... What would I say? It's not that it's going to blow you away.
No.
But if you are tired of found footage and willing to just go give something a chance, and you've never seen Grave Encounters, I think you'll come away satisfied.
Definitely. I can say I was just tired of the usual reading the synopses of films going, no, I'm not even going to attempt watching that, things like that. But yeah, I was really impressed with it.
Do you know where I first heard about Grave Encounters?
I think you told me before, but I've forgotten.
It was, of course, its viral, sensational YouTube trailer. So anybody that knows Grave Encounters knows that what really got this film its success was its trailer, which was very impressively done.
Oh, I've not seen that.
30 million views.
That's big.
Over that now. But at the time, this was an credible story, like told and stuff like that. Because particularly the time in 2011 was a really good time for paranormal found footage horror. It really was. People weren't completely tired of it yet. It does begin with the whole title card, this sort of beginning that's like, oh, this shit is real. And we're actually introduced to like a producer of a show. He's a TV network producer. And he's talking to the camera about the Grave Encounters TV show crew and stuff like that. And basically, the show was running. It was a new idea. They were quite excited about it. And then the 6th episode, things went wrong. And he never goes too deep into where the crew are now or things like that.
Yeah.
But he just talks about how the footage, and it was like 72 hours worth of footage, came to them via an envelope and so on. It went through it. It was shocking. And they put it together. This is what you're about to see. Yeah. He does the whole, we haven't edited it, we haven't done this, we've just cut it for time and stuff like that.
Which makes sense, yeah. We're kind of not mucked around with it. There's no overblownness to that part of it. It's just literally, this is what happens, and then straight into it.
Yeah, he goes on to say, like, the show was cancelled because they all disappeared. And if you're a TV network, it's like, admittedly, it's a bit like, and you didn't want to look into their disappearances?
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. But basically, our film is going to be, the film we're about to watch is what would have been the 6th and is the final episode of Grave Encounters. Fucking love the trailer. So we also see the promotional video that Lance Preston, who is the lead guy of Grave Encounters show, sent to Interest Network. And it is the cheesiest, most...
every time you see it on like
most haunted and stuff like that. It's fucking amazing for how bad it is, and it's just like, oh, that's so bad, but it works. It's so real. It's so real. Like, it's the sort of thing that if it existed, I wouldn't be surprised if it existed like in that fashion online, and I'd roll my eyes so hard they'd probably fall out. That kind of thing. But the show is basically Lance Preston, who's played by Sean Rogerson. Massive props to Sean Rogerson. He is dynamite in really this. Good. Dynamite in this.
He's got the kind of arrogance of that.
But he's also, I will get to it, but I love a certain scene in this movie where it implies that while he doesn't believe this, he wants to.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking great. Sasha Parker is played by Ashley Grisgo. Grisgo. She's good in this. She gets shit done to her, and she plays that well.
Shaken up,
does well. Merwin Mondesir plays T.C. Gibson.
He's good.
Pretty good. He's a little bit too shouty at times, which for a found footage movie can get a bit, stop shouting so much. Yeah. But he is our character who loses his shit quickly. Yeah. That's what he's for. Houston Gray, played by Mackenzie Gray.
He's very, very enigmatic. It's very odd looking, isn't it? Look, I don't know, he's got a very memorable face.
He's got a very memorable face, but I fucking love him. If anybody's ever seen this horrible British show that had the actor or paranormal guy. What was his name? Derek Acorah. Was that Most Haunted?
Now, yeah.
Yeah, Derek Acorah is dead now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know that. Basically, Houston Gray is a parody of those people.
Yeah.
But he's fake. And it's a great reveal when we see how that's revealed. But I particularly love a part where he's trying to get back into the spirit things, and Lance is just like, shut up, Houston.
Yeah.
You know, enough of that shit, basically.
Yeah.
Love that stuff. And Matt White is the other crew member, played by Juan Reddingier.
Reedinger.
Yeah. He has an interesting role in this. He has an interesting role. He has to play two different types, and I think he's quite strong near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And he is involved in a pretty horrible scene that just leaves you a little bit cold for how it plays out. There's plenty of other characters, you know, to do with regarding demonic forces. The Dr. Arthur Friedkin is played by Arthur Korber.
Yep.
Caretaker Kenny Sandoval, played by
no.
Bob Rathie, who is
He's great.
hilarious scene. So basically, the Grave Encounters crew are going to the abandoned Collingwood Psychiatric Hospital to film their 6th episode, where unexplained phenomena has been reported for years. We get a backstory about the psychiatric hospital. It's one of those. If you've ever seen House on Haunted Hill, it's one of those.
Yeah.
It's that. Love the place though.
Lovely place. It's
Lovely.
Yeah.
We get it from outside and inside. It is very much a very uncomfortable. Like enough so that I believe that if you were inside there in the dark, you would feel incredibly uncomfortable and unhappy about it.
Yeah.
Because regardless, because it was a real asylum, right?
Yeah, real asylum.
Yep.
They used. I think they said it was closed down for a while. But yeah, they actually filmed in a real place. So.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely adore it. It really is a very great setting for it. And basically, they're going to film there. So a lot of the beginning of the movie is them sort of doing snippets of the show, you know? And that's where you first kind of get your implication that, what's his name? Lance, yeah. I was going to call him Sean.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, Sean. Lance is very much a showman, because you watch him switch it from, I'm just me, to I'm Lance Preston here at Grave Encounters, that kind of thing. And, you know, he's doing a lot of talking with a caretaker and stuff like that. And there's the groundsmen, who we've already mentioned that. Oh, my goodness me. The groundsmen, they end up talking to him outside, and it's basically, they're already on camera. Why they didn't check with him to begin with? But I guess it's only 6 episodes, you know, it is a little bit amateurish as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot about capturing footage and then editing it all back afterwards.
Yeah.
And they ask him, and they talk to him about, have you seen anything paranormal? And he's like, basically, no.
Yeah.
And this is where we get our first reveal. It's basically Lance is just like, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
And he basically slips this guy some money.
Yep.
And they refilm it, and the
it's
guy's
great.
it's hilarious. Stone-faced, like so clearly terrible actor. Yes, I saw a ghost over there.
Yeah.
And Lance is just like, oh, actual sightings of paranormal. And you're like, oh my God, it's so bad. It's so terribly done. You can't not love it.
Yeah.
You know? You get a lot of bonding and bickering between characters to sort of show their roles and stuff like that. Nobody clearly believes what they're doing.
No.
But again, we come back to this. There's a scene that's between Sasha and Lance, and I think she talks about like, oh, you know, how boring it is and all that. And he says something about like, you know, oh, I'd love to, or I'd really, you know, it'd be great if we did, and so on. We've been doing this, you know, we never see anything.
See something, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, so you do believe, you just not experienced that, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is, of course, don't fake it, mate.
Yeah.
That's bollocks.
Yeah.
You know, bollocks. So inside the asylum, the plan is it gets shown around by the caretaker.
Yeah.
We see a lot of specific places. It is a bit convoluted that the places we visit via the caretaker are basically the places the movie will predominantly take place in. And he tells them stories and all of that. I love his uncomfortableness on camera. You notice that? Again, it's a real good shining light where it's like film within a film.
Yeah.
And when the film within a film part's happening, he's not comfortable. Whereas the actor who's filming for the film that we're watching is fine.
Yeah.
Which is very well done. That's good acting.
I like that, yeah.
So, like, for example, we see a window at the very top of the asylum that swings outwards and apparently opens by its own volition.
Yeah.
We, the bathroom, where a bath where it said inmate killed herself. There's a room where an inmate scrawled all across the walls.
Yeah.
Lots of little things like that are what we're sort of shown.
Yeah.
But their main base is in the lobby with stairs going up, the exit there.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to be home-based and set up. We do get a wonderful shot as they first enter with the words written inside.
Death awaits.
Death awaits. Very important, that as well. Written on the inner doors.
I question why they would be physically locked into the place.
Which is, well, yeah, let's get to that. Before you question that, part of the plan, and it's for the show more than anything else, which is basically Lance is all like, yeah, we're going to be locked in until 6 a.m. the next day. And he gets the caretaker showing on camera, locking the actual front door.
Yeah. I felt like you could have shown that and then edited out the bit where he actually unlocks it again. Because like things might happen. It's an abandoned building. I know it kind of takes away from the point of it, but you could have had it when the doors were locked anyway. Like you knew that the guys there knew that they. I don't know. We unlocked it again. Why is it locked? See what I mean? You could have gone down that route. So if it's a little bit like grown adults, I don't think you would lock yourself because accidents do happen.
You are right.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. However, it's so easy to just accept because of this. TC brings that up later on. TC does when he's fuming and so on. They actually break through the padlock. So what difference does it make if it's locked?
Oh, shit.
They actually bust through that door.
Okay.
So it makes no difference in the end of things because what they see on the other side, and we'll get to that anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it makes no odds. And here's the thing. Lance is a showman.
Yeah.
He's a showman.
So
And that's it. He didn't consider the possibility that anything could go wrong.
Yeah.
As well, the time period is very small. They're in there. It's very small. We see that because they reached the time period when they should be let out very quickly in the movie.
Maybe it's me watching it from the outside going, no, wouldn't lock myself in there.
Like any reviewing and like any sort of thing, particularly watching found footage, you're looking for reasons to attack it. You really, really are looking for reasons to attack it. And Paranormal Activity, Grave Encounters has things that we will point out where it's a bit like, well, that ain't very good and that isn't too good and stuff like that. Yeah. I think it gets a little slow in places and I think the ending is dragged out.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's just like, this is okay.
Yeah.
Because this is basic. Just, you tell us, well... So we get the usual thing. There's cameras set up by Matt in specific. All the locations that we got shown, there are static cameras set up, and that's kind of
a good scene.
Yeah, that is a good scene. And it's a great scene when we get our first sort of chilling moment where a wheelchair just slightly moves behind Matt, and you're like banging.
Yep,
just slightly, and you get that little feel where you're like just slightly moves, thing he would never notice. We did because his face is in the camera and it's slightly in the corner and we get that focus. The movie does that brilliantly where it will have a static camera focused on one area. And similar Paranormal Activity, it's very much in that vein where you're like, okay, something's about to happen. What Grave Encounters does well, sometimes nothing happens. That's good shit. That's good shit. Or it'll cut and then something else happens elsewhere. So, of course, they did a usual walking around. It's dark by that point. And this is a dark asylum. There's no power at all. It's dark, so using torches and using night vision cameras. They're walking around, they're doing recordings. Is anyone there? And so on. Nothing really happens for a while. And then you hear noises and they think... And Lance is getting frustrated because he keeps thinking there's the possibility. So nothing really happens for a while. But it seems like the longer you're here, this is where the oppression begins. There's actually around TC that starts to experience noises and stuff like that. There's this door slamming.
Big door.
And it's a big door. And it's a good scare. It's a good scare. You could say it's a jump scare. I didn't see it that way because it's not filmed in a sort of way. It's just that loud bang because he's got his back to it when it happens. He calls Lance. Lance is super excited about it when he tries to make contact. During this is where he gets pissed off with...
what's his name?
Why have I forgotten his name?
Yeah, Lance.
Houston about doing his thing and stuff like that. There's a great scene earlier on where they're filming Houston as well. And Houston's doing this whole, is anyone there and in there? And then they break into laughter and talk about how stupid it all is. That's a good scene. But he can't make contact and stuff like that. The night is going on. I think at this point it's like 3-4 in the morning kind of thing.
Because you can see like sometimes like the camera, sometimes you get like an hour.
A timer in the corner of the camera which shows us what time it is. Hours have gone by. Hours gone by. But in their attempts to gain contact, the big moment is when Sasha's hair is moved. And we see it. It's a good effect, actually. We see it. And obviously she freaks out. Lance is super excited. First time they've ever got anything like that on camera. As he damn right would be excited. But the night is coming to an end. And they think they've got... That's enough. That actually is enough. To be fair, fuck everything else you filmed. That moment is your... big moment. That is your not necessarily proof because people argue and rightfully so. I would. I would. I'd be like, well, obviously they set that up. But for people who watch these shows and believe in it, incredible. Like you never got that, and that's incredible. So they're gonna leave. So Matt goes to get rid of cameras and stuff like that. We do get a scene where you've seen the window had opened, and that's where he comes up and he notices the window, and then we cut away, and they're basically Matt hasn't returned. And the warden, the person who's supposed to let him out, hasn't come back. The time has now passed. TC's getting extremely upset about this. This is where he gets angry at Lance for fucking locking the bloody door and stuff. But they go to look for Matt and they find all his gear strewn about the place. this obviously causes a lot of panic.
As it would.
You know, there's a lot of, initially they're trying to play it off and stuff like that, but they're worried. And TC ends up breaking through the front doors using a gurney. Lance doesn't want him to because, damages and all that. Yeah. He's just, the guy's just running late and stuff like that. But he ended up busting through the door and finding that the front door just leads to another corridor now. Yeah. Just another corridor. It's a great fucking reveal.
Yeah, it's like, you kind of question yourself going, no, that's the door they come through. And they were like, no, that's the door we come through. And even better, when they turn around to close the doors, like, death awaits. Yeah, so the front doors. Clearly the same doors. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah, from there we start building up other elements as well. Their food they had is now rotten.
Yeah, like weeks old rotten, not just like a little bit off. Yeah, maggots. Yeah.
What's it called? They realise it's a great reveal again that it's still night outside. That according to the watches and times, it's this. Yeah. It's like at 1:1 p.m. I think he says, and it's still dark outside, which brings up. And everything just continues, like the ramping up, the building up. It's what's so good about this movie, is it just builds up and up and up and up and up until our eventual first proper ghostly scare, which is finding a patient, a young woman patient in the corner. And of course she turns around, and you've all seen it if you know Grave Encounters, which is the distorted face. Yeah. Don't love it. Don't love it. Think it's a good scare. Don't love the effect. Yeah. Thankfully, it's cut very quickly. Yeah. It's a super quick cut. Yeah. And
they run away.
They run away. Houston gets separated by them, and he gets attacked by. We see him on one of the static cameras that Matt left behind, getting attacked and lifted up and strangled, and then he kind of gets blasted by an energy thing, and that's the end of Houston. Yeah. It continued around. They're basically trying. It turns into a survival more than anything else. And because what's kind of cool about this entity inside this hospital, wherever it is, it clearly wants to have fun doing this. Yeah. Like it clearly is no. I'm not just going to kill you. Yeah. I'm going to send you.
Throw you around.
Yeah, send you off in the deep end. And we wake up one morning to find that Sasha has had the word hello scratched in her back. That's fucked up. Yeah. Like, well, what's it doing, man?
Yeah, that's nasty. Yeah,
like, it answers them now.
Yeah, it's mocking them, isn't it? Saying, oh, look, I'm making contact now.
Yeah, I'm making contact now, but what a way to do it. We will mention here, the reason why they continue to film is twofold. Initially, Lance is like, we're here.
Might as well film it all.
We might as well get more footage. Yeah. This is before shit really goes down. Yeah. The second reason, night vision. Night vision. And Lance continues to sort of do his whole talking to the camera thing. Yeah. Becomes like a diary for him almost. Yeah. But the night vision cameras, I can't argue with that. No, that's solid.
You grab something to see your way around, haven't you?
That's solid, yeah, because they don't have enough torches and torches run out and stuff like that. There's another point where they wake up and time goes off on one. We lose all sense of time, let alone them, which is excellent. The timer that we see in the corner, gone. Yeah. And later on, you'll see that it just becomes jumbled. Yeah. But by their faces and expression and tiredness, you gather that it's been a while. They talk at one point. Lance talks about how they walked in one direction for a day, like a whole day.
Yeah, that's
terrifying. Yeah. Like that's terrifying. So time seems to have been going on and on and on. Tensions are high. Yeah. People are not in good, basically, places. We will lose TC in a short while in the bathtub scene, but before then they also meet Matt, find Matt, who basically is in a gown and almost comatose to a degree.
Yeah, he's really not taking it well, has he? He's messed up.
Yeah, they also find they've now all got wristbands, hospital wristbands with their names on them, which is another pretty like, fucking hell, Ghost. What are you doing, man? There's one bad scene here where they wake up one morning to ghostly hands trying to grab them through. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, CG's not great.
The CG's not great, and while the camera's frantic, it just doesn't look good, unfortunately. I didn't like that part. Yeah, so TC gets it when they get to the bathroom where the girl apparently killed herself in the bathtub. It's filled with blood, and Matt's leaning over it. And it's done really well here, because you kind of, what's coming. Yeah. But TC's not, you're going over to grab Matt, and then this figure reaches up and grabs TC. Cameras are dropped here. Love that. Yeah. Because you see the bathtub being tipped over and blood washing over. Then cameras are picked up to see the bathtub is empty. TC's just gone. Yeah. So I really like this as well. One of the things I praised in it when we were watching it was rules. There are what are the fucking rules for this ghost? Yeah. Normally you get some form of rules, but there's none. No, and that's really, really horrible, because how the fuck can you survive something that you cannot work out what its rules are. It can make Matt disappear and then come back. As
changes time, like the whole atmosphere, the whole hospital can change time.
Yeah, like it changes time. It moves dimensions almost. How is this? Like, what is happening here? It can do things while you're asleep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in fact, like, there's certain things that kind of run at the camera. Like things are quite. It's not like a poltergeist or demon that kind of just lifts things gently or does little things. It goes full on. It will charge at you. It will grab you into stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite malevolent, if that's the word.
Yes. And before we leave that area as well, we get one of the best jump scares in the movie, which is where Lance notices a tongue in a corner of a room, and he goes over. Is that a tongue? And then blood drips, and obviously you look up, and you've got this patient sitting in a corner, bloody mouth roaring.
Yeah.
Lance runs for shit. This thing chases them. They're trying to barricade the door. And this is where we lose Matt as they're trying to open a lift.
Oh yeah.
Open the lift, and Matt, and you see it from like a distant camera that's lying on the floor. He picks up a camera, he's looking down the shaft, and he just allows himself to fall down to his death. It's one of the grimmest moments where it's just like, oh, that's pretty horrible. But I guess he saw an opportunity to get out of it. Yeah, so they end up, this demon that was attacking them, Lance and Sasha, who are the last two alive at this point, from the other side of the door, it disappears. And they've been avoiding, we didn't mention it already, but they've been avoiding going down into the tunnels. So earlier on in the movie, very start, one of the areas was shown in these tunnels that apparently connect buildings, but they kind of avoided going down there for obvious reasons. Fuck that, service tunnels and so on. But Lance is like, look, let's go down and walk.
Yeah.
You know, he can't, I guess kind of as well they know in their heart of hearts, if they can't get to the hospital, what on earth makes you think you're getting out of those tunnels?
Yeah, that's last chance saloon.
Yeah, last chance saloon, and they don't. They don't, unfortunately, as again we get several cuts that implies they've been walking for fucking ages. They talk about sore feet, exhaustion, and they both end up falling asleep in the tunnels. And we see from the static camera that Matt had set up previously a mist to sort of come, cover them, and then recede, and Sasha's gone.
Yeah.
And Lance wakes up, and it's pretty horrible again.
He's on his own.
He's on his own now. And again, over an unknown period of time, we kind of keep cutting back to Lance going steadily madder. He kills a rat and eats the rat. That's a horrible scene.
Oh, yeah, because it's...
One scene, he's gibbering at the camera, basically.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah, he's gone, basically, and his sunken eyes, his beard and stuff like that. It's been a while. But one morning he wakes up and he's got a bit more lucidity about him because a door, he says, has just appeared that wasn't there previously when he went to sleep. It's a door. We'd actually see this room earlier on in the movie, and this is the door for the doctor that apparently ran the hospital, who did a lot of lobotomies. Lance goes in, he ends up finding satanic shit.
Yeah,
which is a little bit of a mist.
That covers a lot of things, and it's satanic shit.
Yeah, satanic shit basically. It's a little bit like, oh, you didn't really need to do that.
Yeah,
you didn't really need to do that. And but then when he's looking around, he panics because suddenly the ghost of the doctor and several nurses that are working on someone. On someone on an operating team. We don't see who it is. Yeah. I'd like to believe it was Sasha.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, that would have been, but they don't tell you or show you that kind of thing. Unfortunately, he makes some noise. Lance does, and there is that whole great. The problem is nothing's ever done this as good as House on Haunted Hill remake from 1999, which did this brilliantly, where all they look up.
Yeah.
And Lance, basically, the camera cuts, and then like the doctor is in front of Lance, and his face distorts, and he screams. Yeah. The finale of the movie is the camera cut up close to Lance, as you see he's been lobotomized, and that he's been cured and allowed to leave. Spoilers, not actually true when we get to the sequel, but we'll get to that eventually. It really, it sounds, I understand, if you've never seen this and you're thinking this is just ghostly goings on in a found footage movie, yawn. I completely understand why you'd think that. And I don't think necessarily that I'm able to sell it in a way that says to you, this is one of the best found footage movies ever. I don't think it's one of the best. I think it's a damn good found footage horror that, as we said at the start, uses all the tropes well.
Yeah, I think the main thing is like the lack of time, because I say like Blair Witch did touch upon it.
Blair Witch did it well.
Yeah, because I think that's a scary thing, because like in real life, like that's a constant. Like time is a constant.
Yes, we can't change it. We can't do things to it.
Yeah, and when you mess with that, you kind of see how it makes people exhausted, disorientated, and things like that. And obviously, it relates to this asylum. That was what so many people going through. the lack of, I don't know where they are, what they're doing, day from night.
Their confusion and lack of clarity is reflected in ours because we lose all sense of time, as do they. That is always going to be, if you're, and I find as well, as you watch it, you do put yourself in their situation. You wonder what you would do, which is a unique proposition for something that's trying to sell itself as real.
Same with Blair Witch. Like, I just want them to kind of get out. The whole thing with Blair Witch is when they like in this one where they don't know, when they broke open the doors and it's to another corridor, is the same thing as when Blair Witch, they come back on themselves. That sort of feeling in your stomach of like, they're not getting out of this. Yeah, that kind of, that's the worst part of horror, that sticks with you, rather than, oh, here's a ghost. It's like, no, there's a point where you know they're not getting out, and that's quite horrible to watch. And
we'll mention it now because we didn't while we were talking through, but there is an actual point where I think you just probably lose all hope. The characters sort of do, and we do. And it's actually when they think they're going to go to the roof. We didn't mention talking through it.
Yeah.
They're going to go to the roof. They're following emergency exits, and TC's super excited, and they turn in the corner, roof access this way, and they turn the corner to find a wall where the door should be. Just a wall, a solid wall as well, because TC hits it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the moment where you're like, yeah, you're not getting out of here.
Yeah.
You're not getting out of here. There's no way out, basically. And I think that's really well done. I said during it that I think this movie combines 3 classic horror movies together, takes ideas from them.
Yeah.
I said Blair Witch Project, obviously. Paranormal Activity, obviously. The one that I don't think maybe people would think as obvious is The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining. And what I got from that, I suggested, if you remember, I said to you while we were watching it, to me, the asylum is this thing where the longer you're in it, the more time you're there, the more it preys on your mind, the more its strength grows.
Yeah.
That's what I got because of how things ramp up, which is similar to The Shining.
And and you made a point as well that it seems like the ghosts, the apparitions don't come around until they stop filming for the TV show.
Ah, wow, well done. You're right. Yeah, there's a real subtlety to this, which is basically whenever they want to capture something on camera, doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The moment they stop, something happens.
Yeah.
It knew what it was doing.
Yeah.
It knows what it's doing in that sense, which is another excellent touch. But aside from all that stuff, it is a very well acted movie. The cast is very, very strong across all of it.
Yeah.
They're believable characters. I wouldn't necessarily likeable or anything like that because I don't think that's important in a found footage movie.
They are trying to fleece money out of people for it.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to be on their side in that sense. But they're not unlikable in the sense that you think, oh god, these guys are arseholes. There's none of that. They're not hurting anyone in that sense. So that aspect. But ultimately, the biggest praise I can give this movie is it scares me. It sends those chills, and even on a second watch, those subtle moments, and even some of the stuff later on, well, not necessarily making me jump. I'm like, oh, I like that. That made me go, oh, and a lot of that's down to what is the found. Hilariously, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's down to the found footage tropes of how you cut back to something. The best moments are the shit that isn't raw in your face. The best moments are the wristband, that shit, the scratch in the back, that stuff that's just the camera comes back in. It's like, this has happened. Yeah. And you're like, fuck. Yeah. That's amazing stuff, It's why I thoroughly recommend watching this movie if you've never seen it before.
Definitely.
We look forward to talking to you about the sequel, though. But for now, what's your thoughts? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?